So I just wanted to finish off what we didn't quite get through today. Apologies for that, not managing the time well. So with our idea of behaviour change, this is just a diagrammatic way that might help some of you to kind of see where we're going with this. So what we've got at the beginning on the left-hand side is what's happening in the here and now. So it's our job to find out the current picture of what's going on for our patient or service user. We want to encourage them to tell their story, and for us to gain perspective, and perhaps for them to be able to begin and see a different perspective of their story as well. Within this, we're going to really value that individual and their particular situation. Then what we've got to ascertain is what the preferred picture is going to be. And what does that person or need in order for that vision to become reality? What possibilities are there for them to do that? What agenda do we need? Do we need to change the agenda from what we thought it originally should be? How are we going to work round that? So there's some kind of discovering of what the possibilities are, what the agenda needs to be. And then we're going to make that commitment to saying, right, okay, this is what the change is going to be. So we've got the here and now and where we want to be, and deciding on where we want to be, and the commitment to try and get there. But what we then need at the end is that idea of how. What is the way forward? How are we going to get what we need? How is the patient going to get what they need? What the strategies that could work? So we're going to be exploring them with them, and then working out what's the best fit for them in their situation at this time. And from that, working out what is possible for them, we will develop a plan, which is going to link with what they value, what's important to them, till we get to the point of how we make it all happen, which then means that the vision hopefully becomes reality. So it's a kind of overview of what we're trying to achieve. And, it would be the same for us if we were trying to achieve behaviour change ourselves, thinking through those processes. Some of those things we can do on our own, and some of them we can't. So just to think a little bit about how those key tasks that we do in our consultations, what they need to be in order to support behaviour change. So we need to establish rapport. That's what we were working on yesterday, doing the best that we possibly can to build that relationship with that person. Then we have got the setting of the agenda. That might be about one thing, it might be about a number of things, but that's that agreement. What is it they would like to get out of today? So it could be multiple things, it could be a single thing. We may go on to assess how important that change is to that person, or how confident they are in their ability to make that change, which together gives us this idea of, are they ready to make a change or not? We might want to do some work to support them to build their confidence, or to help them to explore how important something is, and maybe change their value on what they think is important, or how important something is. And then we might summarize that and decide on where that leaves that person, and where we might go from there. So at the same time, we're doing this information exchange. Elicit, provide, permission, provide, elicit. So we're exchanging all the time, it's two-way conversation. And what that does at the same time is reduce the resistance to change. So that's what we're trying to achieve. Using our skills, exchanging information, building confidence, reducing resistance, and that supports people to make change. So just to summarise what we've said today, we need health-related behaviour change. We need it to happen. We need it to happen for the individuals and for our society in order to make us a healthier society. We need to start with our person-centered, personalized approach, not focusing on the disorder, not the diabetes, the celiac disease, or whatever else it is. And we need to first focus on the person. So we have this person-centered approach, but to do that, you've got to have good communication skills because they are the foundation on which you can see that the other skills and strategies are based. There's lots of different skills and strategies that can be used. We're initially going to focus on the basic communication skills for active listening and reflective listening. But most of those skills and strategies are going to need further support to develop those once you've qualified. So we've got to get you all to a level that is going to be good. What I would hope is that when you are qualified, you will look to be even better.